Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, my girlfriend, female 23, is mad at me, male 23, for crying over a video game girl. But I feel like this is a normal experience for people who play this game. And now I'm considering ending things over this because I'm immature. Do I try and forgive or do I just cut my losses? Hey Reddit, this is a throwaway because I want to get as close as an unbiased opinion as I can get. And lots of people involved in the story follow me on my main Reddit account. As a young adult growing up during the quarantine era, I got really into video games, as did most of the people I hung out with at the time. I got used to playing video games as a way to relax and connect with other people during my downtime. Only recently did I start playing single-player games as a means of entertainment, well past the prime years for gaming. My girlfriend is really chill. She's super down to earth and for the most part, she's always put a lot of effort in understanding me. I'm a pretty social person who dealt with putting up masks to get a quick laugh from people, and so I felt really isolated for a while. When I met my girlfriend, she really put a lot of effort into getting past those walls and see me for who I truly was. Cut to 3 years later, and this is the biggest fight I think we've ever had. I recently finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth after playing through the remake just a few months ago. I won't spoil it for anyone here, but that game gets really emotional towards the latter half. Now, I've never been a sappy person or one to cry at movies, and I think this is the biggest reason my girlfriend has been having issues with my behavior. I was cooking dinner for the two of us when the main theme, Sector 7 theme from the first game for those who are curious, came on. Now, this is a relatively slow song with a lot of strings and feelings woven into the melodies, or at least for me it is. I don't really know what came over me, but I started to get teary-eyed while listening to it, thinking about some of the characters and the events of the game. I don't think there's really been a piece of media that has really affected me in this kind of way, but I found myself particularly saddened at that moment by the narrative of the game. So my girlfriend obviously noticed this and realized that I was crying and immediately grew concerned. When I told her it was nothing, she kept pushing. I thought the reason I was crying was pretty stupid too, so I kind of lied in hopes of diverting the subject. I just told her it was from the onions I was cutting earlier. They were shallots, but close enough, and left it at that. Well, apparently I was very quietly sobbing or something because she called bullshit a few minutes later. She started getting upset, thinking I had done something like being unfaithful to her. And so rather than be caught in another lie, I just told her the truth. Unfortunately, this just made her more upset. She was going on and on about how I was so immature for letting a video game girl remain in my thoughts weeks after I finished playing the game. She said she was upset that I was replacing my mental headspace with a misogynistic dream girl, that she thinks I believe is a better version of her. The girl from the game does look very similar to my girlfriend, I must admit, but that just shows you how pretty my girlfriend is. Regardless, I tried telling her the actual narrative of the game was, frankly, ingenious, and how the song was just a trigger. It's not the girl herself that's making me cry, it's the narrative that she's involved in. Also, it's an emotional song. Like without knowing what happens in the game, I feel like I could be sad to a song like this. Anyways, she wasn't having it and she made me sleep on the couch that night, and then the night after, and the night after that. I'm starting to get really mad, and I admit I was getting frustrated with her that she was treating me poorly because I became emotional over a game. I'm frustrated that I discovered something that moved me like no other game or movie has ever done before, and for some reason, I'm being punished for showing my emotions in front of my own partner. I asked my mum for some advice since I'm thinking of breaking up with her for treating me like this over some little disagreement. But after explaining the situation from both sides, she sided with my girlfriend. Now I have my direct family calling me childish and all my friends are making fun of me for being into 2D girls. I'm literally not into her, by the way. If you played this game, you would understand what I'm talking about, since nobody in my community has really played single-player games. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of people who just aren't going to understand what I'm saying here. I'm getting a lot of anime waifu comments from my girlfriend's friends, and overall I'm becoming more and more done with this situation. I really love my girlfriend, like a lot, but this simple misunderstanding is tearing our relationship apart. I'm trying to communicate not my own feelings, but also how she might be taking the situation a bit farther than it reasonably needs to. So, Reddit, I need your advice. Do I cut my losses and break it off over something as stupid as this? I kinda don't want to let a fake girl tear my relationship apart. That just feels dumb. Am I being immature? I want her to understand, but I feel as though she's not listening to me. If I don't break it off, how do you think I go about amending this? I just want some honest advice, and here's to hoping my girlfriend and her friends don't find this story and make even more fun of me. That's one of those ones that I'm thinking the title isn't going to be the full story here, because it sounds like it's your girlfriend's insecurity more than anything, about a fictional character of all things. And look, I can understand being a little taken aback if, so like, I'm just picturing myself walking into the kitchen and imagine, partner that stood there crying while they're cooking and then made up a story about why they're crying so they don't have to admit the truth. I can imagine being a little shocked by that and then thinking, what's really going on? But after you explaining the full story, the music being on in the background and the Final Fantasy links, I totally get where you're coming from. And I'm someone who gets emotional at everything. Believe me. You guys know it. You see me crying at bloody Reddit stories. I cry at video games, I cry at music. I'm just an emotional person. So for her to dismiss this afterwards, make you sleep on the couch for days, and then have everyone in your circle start piling on you instead of trying to understand the 2D waifu jokes, they're missing the point entirely. You shouldn't have to hide your emotions from someone who's meant to love you. And it's not the fake girl tearing your relationship apart. It's your girlfriend with her responses and the way she's getting people to pile on you. It's as simple as that. I would certainly be side-eyeing someone who did that. And it's especially the responses afterwards, the sleeping on the sofa and getting people to pile on you, the girlfriend's friends, about the anime waifu stuff. That would piss me off. Commenter says to AP, look, if I was reading a novel and I cried, I don't think anyone would criticize me. Gloomy says, I'd never think anything of someone crying while reading, but if I walked into the kitchen and found my husband sobbing over a book he read days ago, I'd be pretty taken aback and would start to worry that maybe something else was going on with him that I wasn't seeing. However, the girlfriend's subsequent reaction is unhinged. OP says, I think this is what's freaking her out the most. I'm not usually an emotional person. I think I've cried in front of my girlfriend like twice. I think she's suspecting that more is going on than what I'm telling her, because in her eyes, this is out of character for me. But in reality, I just haven't experienced stuff like this before. Sovereign says, not only did your girlfriend read the situation with extreme bad faith and lack of empathy, she turned to her friends to make fun of you and shame you. This is not what a loving and respecting person does in a disagreement. Is that something you're okay with in a relationship? You're not having issues because of 2D girls, you're having issues because of her behavior. She built her own narrative and is refusing to see your point of view over something completely harmless and low stakes. What happens when you build your future together and have to discuss heavier things? Also, I know that despite the popularity of gaming, there still exists a lot of people who do not understand the medium. But our story is not a universal concept. Do they not experience TV series, movies, and books and empathize with the characters in their journey? Does no one in your and your girlfriend's circles play video games? Sounds incredibly weird. Opie says she doesn't have any guy friends, since to her guys and girls just can't be friends or whatever. There's one friend who is on my side though, keeps telling me that I have to show her that games are just as powerful as movies. Unfortunately, this friend is also really into anime and cosplaying, which for some explainable reason puts her beneath everyone else in their friend group's eyes. The dodgiest Ewok says, none of these behaviors read chill and down to earth, by the way. OP comes back into the post with an update, gives a quick TLDR and then says, I didn't get much sleep last night, mostly due to the third night on the couch and overall being really frustrated with how I've been treated the last couple of days. But when my girlfriend got up this morning, she had a different energy. It was much earlier than she needed to be up and she invited me back into the bedroom to rest and we could talk later if I was up for it. I just told her, we should talk now, since rest would be hard with this heavy burden on my mind. Well, she apologized. Immediately, she told me how awful she felt for treating me like a cheating boyfriend, and that she had been acting rash and childish out of fear, but I had been falling out of love with her. I was still a little peeved, but I put my anger aside for a while and told her that yes, she totally had been treating me unfairly for the past couple of days. She didn't defend herself very much, then she started explaining her sudden change of heart. This silly argument had been going on since Wednesday night, and in all the free time she'd been having away from me, she had naturally been telling her friends and family. My girlfriend is very close with my mother, so she gave her a lot of detail about the whole situation, including the details about the fake girl that had supposedly captured my eye. Well, her mother told the rest of the family, including my girlfriend's father and most importantly, her younger brother. Now I've noticed from the comments from my previous post, my reaction to this song and this character are far from unusual, and seems to be a much more common experience amongst the gamers who have experienced Final Fantasy VII. Her brother, quickly catching on to the situation at hand, quickly called my girlfriend and started explaining the situation to her. While I was writing my previous post, the younger brother had been coming to bat for me, trying to justify that it truly was the narrative that had brought me to tears. By the way, I wasn't bawling my eyes out. My eyes were watery and then there were a few tears and a couple of sniffles. Seems like some people thought it had sent me into a weird episode. Regardless, my girlfriend started to doubt herself and did some research online. Well, fans of Final Fantasy VII are quite prolific. So much online discourse talking about this one game had proven my feelings valid enough for my girlfriend, and she had a change of heart sometime overnight. I asked her if there was something I had done to make her so insecure about our relationship, as some commenters suggested. But she brushed it off and told me that she was just anxious because of her friends were getting cheated on recently, and she was worried that I was growing distant. After a bit of talking, we came to an understanding that I was simply getting more comfortable, and as the time between my lovey-dovey moments were increasing, she was worried that I was drifting away, or possibly falling for another woman. I'm quite glad that this conversation is happening now, rather than later, and now I think we've moved past it. We've compromised, and she's promised that if she ever had a problem with my behavior again, she would communicate more directly with me, as well as treat me more like a human being. She also said she wouldn't mind trying playing a game with me, as she was interested in what she read earlier about one Final Fantasy VII game. It seems the comments have also left many suggestions for games to try out. I appreciate all your messages, and perhaps both myself and the commenters were being harsh last night. I think this is the best things could have turned out. Also, she brought me a full basket of different yellow flowers for takeout tonight, and I almost cried again. Anyways, perhaps that wasn't the ending you guys were rooting for, but I'm glad this is finally over, and my relationship with my girlfriend is still solid, and I have a bed to sleep in tonight. Thank you for all your advice. I appreciate it all. The update felt better, but it was still kind of like pretty concerning for me when you look past the initial apologies. You know, she did apologize. She recognized she was treating you badly, which is something. Even if it took her brother to literally explain gaming culture to her. But here's what's still bothering me is that she only changed her mind after she got that external validation from her brother and doing online research. She didn't trust OP or his explanation. And then she was projecting, her friend's relationship drama onto your own relationship and then punishing you for it, making you sleep on the couch for it. You've been punished for crying in your own home, being comfortable enough in your own home to cry. And I really hope true change does hope for them. But there's a part of me just thinking, this is going to pop up again in the future. But who knows? Maybe it won't. But what do you guys make of this situation? What do you think about it? Have you ever played Final Fantasy? The last Final Fantasy game I played was years ago. I've only played one, and I might get Final Fantasy VII just based off this story. Do I have to play the previous ones to play that one? But the last one I played, and I can't remember exactly. I remember I got to a point where there was 2 lifts coming down a building or something, and I think I was fighting someone. And did I get to the bottom and then die? And that was game over? I don't know, I might be just totally making that up, but that's what's in my head where I got to, and I remember being really frustrated because I couldn't carry on. I just died. Like I ran out of lives or continues. Was it hardcore mode? I don't know. I might be talking absolute shit right now. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Give me some suggestions on Final Fantasy VII. Can I play it without going back through the other ones? And let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from Impossible Scallion 12 and says, am I the arsehole for putting more effort into decorating my son's room than my stepdaughter's? I, 40 female, have been with my husband, 43 male, for several years. He has a daughter, 13 female, from a previous relationship. When we started dating, I was introduced to her. He made it very clear that she already had parents and didn't need another one. What she needed was an advocate, a mentor. I was absolutely fine with that, and I've always tried to respect those boundaries. For the most part, our relationship is good. She's a great kid. Now we have a son together, 3 male. He's my first and only biological child, and I wanted him for a very long time. Here's the issue. I had a very specific vision for my son's room that I'd planned well in advance. I painted 2 ombre walls that go from green grass to blue sky and transition into a dusty blue ceiling covered in glow-in-the-dark stars. His ceiling light has a sun-shaped lampshade and his nightlight is a moon. He has a Montessori-style pronunciation floor bed designed to look like a tent, grassy rug, a ball pit that looks like a pool, tree trunk-shaped toy chest that double as chairs and a table, and a tree-shaped bookshelf. I paid for all of this myself. When it came to my stepdaughter's room, we asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted a reading nook, so we created one with a small round mattress, a ton of cushions in her favorite colors, and a mosquito net canopy. She chose her wall colors, solid block shades, and we did the room together. We split the cost 50-50. The rest of the furniture in her room was purchased by my husband before I came into the picture, and he doesn't see any point in replacing it since it's still in good condition. As a result, I didn't have much say in that space. Recently, after seeing my son's room fully set up, my stepdaughter got upset. She said I clearly put way more effort into his space than hers and accused me of playing favorites because he's actually mine. I tried to explain that I didn't want to overstep when it came to her room and that she made most of her choices herself. But now she feels hurt and like I don't care as much about her. I do feel guilty because I can see how, from her perspective, it looks unfair. But I also don't know how to navigate doing more without violating the boundaries my husband and I set early on. I'm not her parent and I didn't want to push decisions onto her room. At the same time, I now wonder if I should have tried harder or been more involved. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? Tough situation, but for me, Opie's not the arsehole in this. I mean, at the very start of this post, Opie said the husband said basically for Opie to stay in their lane as an advocate and mentor, and that's what Opie seemed to do. You know, you asked what she wanted, you split the cost fairly, you let her make her choices, which I thought was pretty respectful. She's 13 years old, she's making those choices on her room, but you know, 13-year-olds see things in a different light. They don't see what's going on in the background with the co-parenting situation, that you've been asked to be an advocate and mentor, and you know, you're just trying to navigate what's a bit of a difficult situation. I imagine the 13-year-old, again, I don't know fully, but they're just seeing the 2 rooms side by side and one's been creative and probably tons of effort into it. Well, you know, she's got a reading nook with some paint and her old furniture. So I'm not surprised that she's seen it as unfair to her. Whilst in reality, you have been fair and you've been really thoughtful towards her by the sounds of it. And I kind of wonder where the husband was towards the end of the story. Sure, he set up, you know, these boundaries, etc., but he needs to step in somewhere along the line and possibly have a chat with this girl in a age-appropriate kind of way about the situation, and maybe, you know, talk to her then. Her feelings are valid and try to come up with a solution. Maybe she can have some extra stuff in her room that make her feel more respected, that you only held back because of that, because of out of respect for her, not because you don't care about her. But one of the commenters, which was downvoted, said, "You're the arsehole for splitting the cost with a 13-year-old." Just like, yeah, OP's gone up to this 13-year-old, right, we're splitting the room 50-50, get your wallet out. I swear, some people don't read their comments back to themselves, but OP says, "I split 50-50 with my husband. She's a bit young yet for an income of her own." Commenter says, "Info. Why did you have to pay for 75% of the room decor and your husband only paid for 25%? Especially considering that your husband was the father of both children while you are only mother." Opie says, "I chose to foot the bill for my boy's room because I earn a bit more than my husband, and my play money is more. I also chose every element in his room, so I paid what I was comfortable with. The concept was that it stayed as a campsite, but as his interest changed, the elements would change. So if he liked dinosaurs, it had become a paleontology camp. I paid 50% because I wanted the cushions to be nicer, good quality cushions that were comfortable and squishy. Her dad isn't great at girl stuff and is used to being very frugal due to only having one income. I at least got to go through Pinterest with her and decide what kind of nook she wanted. I'm also the type of person who will get an idea and immediately act on it. Waiting for 50% of the funds just seemed tedious when I have the means to just do it. Another commenter says, Dad is the one who said furniture didn't need to be updated. You need to talk to him about this and tell him exactly what she said. Your son's room sounds like a dream. Just needs dinosaur toys out of the pooper, in my opinion. It's an expression I've never heard of before, so I can totally understand her being this upset. Hopefully Dad will update her furniture, or let you work your magic on your own. Then, IKEA date. Oh dear. We hope, poor kid. We should also have at least one dinosaur. I hope he says dinosaurs were kind of the idea. If he likes dinosaurs, then it becomes a paleontology camp. Or if he likes Pokemon, it becomes a Pokemon camp. The room can adapt to his interests. Another commenter says, why did your husband not contribute to your son's room, but you had to go into his daughter's room? Opie says, I chose it to give me full freedom without compromise, and I earn more than my husband, so I don't mind paying extra. It's how we keep things financially balanced. So, OP does come in with her update and says, so about 3 people asked for an update. So, here's an update. To clarify, I paid for my son's room because I had a clear vision and didn't want to compromise. I would have done the same for my stepdaughter, but her room was more of a shared project. My husband is an amazing and super engaged dad. He just comes from a different mindset. Some people are savers, some are spenders. He's the former. I'm the latter, and honestly, it worked for us. He's still getting used to the idea that we can spend money just to make life nicer. My stepdaughter ended up apologizing. She said coming back from her mum's, where she shares a room, and seeing her little brother's room made her feel left out. It feels like he always gets the cool stuff, and even his daycare is better equipped than hers was. He won't have to deal with bouncing between homes like she does. She knows it's not about love, and she adores her brother, but she gets a little jealous sometimes. She still likes her room, especially the nook, but wanted it to feel more hers. We picked out a pastel sunset mural, and we're adding a dance corner with a bar and mirrors, plus lights and drapes around her bed to cozy it up. She's really excited now. Commenter says, thanks for the update. I was a bit worried about your relationship with stepdaughter. Unfair about her blaming only you, but she apologized. Good. You sound amazing. I'm a little jealous of how you did your son's room. Such creativity. Another commenter says, as a stepmom to girls, I totally get the can't win scenario you're in. I'm glad she could see it for what it was, and you could work together to make her room what she loves. Opie says she really is an awesome kid. And the final commenter says, that's an awesome update. I was hoping more personal touches would be added to her room. Hopefully that'll really help. It sounds like your stepdaughter is a really good kid, that she was able to apologize and recognize all that. It may be time to reevaluate your role in your stepdaughter's life. If your stepdaughter wants you to have a more involved role, it sounds like you should. And I totally agree with those comments. That 13-year-old sounds absolutely amazing, mature enough to apologize and articulate exactly what was bothering her. I might be wrong, but that's pretty rare. I remember being 13 years old and there was no way I'd be like that. It sounds like for her, she's dealing with some pretty heavy feelings about stability and belonging that just go way beyond the paint colors, don't they really? You know, she was talking about having to bounce between homes, always getting the cool stuff. She just sounds incredibly self-aware. I like that you're making these personal touches to her room and she's getting her own special space that reflects her. I think that's going to be wonderful for her. And I agree with that last comment as well. I wonder if she does want more of you in her life, because it sounds like you really get her at the same time. But I don't know. I've never been in that situation, obviously. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Maybe you're part of a blended family yourself. Have you ever felt similar feelings? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being a part of it all. Truly, you're absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.